Hey, what's up and how's it going, everyone? Well, I'm so glad that you have took your time to spend with me right here today on the Mick Rock and Bolt Wrestling Review Show. I'm your co-host, Mike Mick Rock Wilson, and right now I'm going to give you my review and the results of last night's WWE pay-per-view event, TLC. Alright, so the first match at TLC was the kickoff match in the pre-show, Dolph Ziggler going one-on-one with Fandango. And I think overall it was a so-so match. I'm not really going to go in depth about this match. And when I really thought about it, I think Fandango really needed a win, and what happened, Fandango went over Dolph Ziggler. So, moving on. The show kicked off when Triple H and Stephanie McMahon came out and they cut their promos, talked about the TLC match, and stated that there's only going to be one winner after TLC. After that, we saw the first match. It was CM Punk versus The Shield in a 3-on-1 handicap match, and I thought overall 3-on-1 handicap matches, usually, you have to save them for the shows like Raw and SmackDown, so having them on a pay-per-view is questionable. And so overall, when it came down to it, I thought it was a decent match. It was a good way to kick off TLC. What happened was that we saw Roman Reigns go for a spear on CM Punk, and he ended up going over the announce table, hitting his eye off of JBL's announce chair. And I thought that was actually a good moment in that match. Overall, it was decent. At the end, we saw Roman Reigns spear his own partner, Dean Ambrose, therefore CM Punk capitalized and got the pin on the Shield, going over the Shield in that match. And what happened was that we saw the seeds now planted into this tree that's growing of the Shield splitting up. And even though it's not grew to the fullest, I like that we never got to see the reaction of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins after the spear from Roman Reigns. So I like to see what happens now on Raw and SmackDown to see where this is going to go with this potential split up of the Shield. Like I said, the seeds have now been planted even more, and we'll see what happens tonight on Raw, and you'll see my review as well. Also on the show, we saw AJ Lee go one-on-one with Natalya, and I thought this was, one of the top two matches that happened at TLC. And you have a good match upcoming when you have people talking about who's going to win. This was not a bathroom break match. This was a good Divas Wrestling match between Natalya and AJ Lee. And what happened was that AJ Lee retained the Divas Championship. And some people thought Natalya was going to win. Some people thought AJ was going to win. Some people thought there was going to be a disqualification. And the rivalry continues. So, like I said, you have a good match upcoming when you have people talking about what the end result is going to be. And this, like I said, was a solid, good wrestling match between two great divas that are on the WWE roster. AJ Lee is the face of the Divas division, I think, in my opinion, and Natalya is a very underrated wrestler. I think she deserves more credit, and I think after this match, she deserves a lot of credit. I like those moments where AJ Lee got out of the sharpshooter, going to the ropes, AJ Lee applying her Widow's Peak maneuver, and Natalya getting out of that. And when Natalya went for the sharpshooter again, AJ Lee pulled her hair and made her way to a roll-up for the pin, going over Natalya in that match. Like I said, good Wrestling Divas matches. One of the top two matches on TLC last night. And the other match I thought was the other good match that happened at TLC was the tag team match. It was the Real Americans, Rey Mysterio and the Big Show, Ryback and Curtis Axel, and Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Fatal 4-way elimination style tag team match for the tag team titles. There's a couple of things I didn't like about that match. One, Big Show and Rey Mysterio as a team feels like two random guys that has been thrown into a team because the WWE really doesn't know what to do with them. So what they done was that they throw them into a tag team and hope for the best, and that never really happened. Like I said, it was just a random team being thrown in. And what happened was that we saw Ryback and Curtis Axel get eliminated first off. I thought that was good. But after that, the Real Americans got eliminated by Big Show and Rey Mysterio. I thought that was just absolutely not the greatest way to utilize the tag team division, because Big Show and Rey Mysterio make the tag team division a bad name. And having them eliminate one of the great tag teams that's in the tag team division right now in the WWE just absolutely sucks. And I'm not going to go any further than that. And after that, we saw Big Show and Rey Mysterio going at it with the tag team champions Cody Rhodes and Goldust. And I thought that was the best part of the match. Those two teams went really back and forth, near fall after near fall. It was actually pretty exciting. And here's the thing. Hell would have froze over if the Big Show and Rey Mysterio won the tag team titles, and I would be livid if that happened. It's a good thing that did not happen. So I like the outcome of that match, being that Cody Rhodes and Goldust retaining their tag team titles. Also on the show, we saw Brodus Clay versus R-Truth, and I thought this match would have been better if it was a tag team match, but you can't really overkill the tag team matches because there were 2 3-on-1 handicap matches. So, I can understand why they had a 1-on-1 match between these guys. Brodus Clay versus R-Truth. I'm not really going to go in depth of this match, other than I like how it was constructed. You had Brodus Clay dominating R-Truth, and Tensai just, trying to be the voice of reason to Tensai, just pin him. You don't need to destroy him. What happened? Brodus Clay destroyed him, and he ended up losing to R-Truth, and Tensai walked out because Brodus Clay was just too much for R-Truth. And the Funkadactyls also had enough of Brodus Clay. I think, this should have happened a long time ago when Brodus Clay had that movie coming out. And I've said this in past reviews of Raw and SmackDown, that Brodus Clay should have turned heel a long time ago. So with that being said, Brodus Clay only now just feels weird. And I think that Brodus Clay flipping out after the match was pretty good. Like I said, it was a well done match, but it was just, too late too soon. Moving on. We saw Kofi Kingston and The Miz in a no disqualification match. I would have rather seen those two in a tables match or a chairs match to bring prestige into the pay-per-view name, TLC. This event itself was just a pay-per-view with a TLC match. That's how I would have named this pay-per-view, because the pay-per-view name did not live up to the expectations. It was just a pay-per-view event with a TLC match. That's what sucked about this pay-per-view. So there were, good things, and there were not so good things. The Miz and Kofi Kingston was an okay match. It was no disqualification, and it really didn't feel like a no disqualification match after all. What happened was that we got to see a more aggressive side to Kofi Kingston that I did like when he slapped The Miz during the pre-show. But I would have rather seen those two go at it in the kickoff match as opposed to later on. just to have that good flow of the card. Have them to, you're in the thick of it on the pre-show, and then now you have a match on the pre-show to get people ready for TLC instead of throwing in Dolph Ziggler and Fandango. So with that being said, the flow was not really there when it came to the kickoff match and having the bonus match as well. That could have been, like I said, a tables match or a chairs match to bring importance and prestige to the TLC pay-per-view event itself. Have another match that's that could have been a chairs match, and have another match that was a tables match as well. That should have happened as well. So overall, like I said, not a great TLC pay-per-view event where you just have a TLC match in the main event, which I will get to in just a bit. Also, it was another 3-on-1 handicap match, and I like how, they split up the 3-on-1 matches. You had the first match, and then you have the match that was close to the main event. So I like how the matches on the card were on the card in order from 1 to, I think it was 8 or 9, something like that. So I like the order of the matches that happened on the pay-per-view. That I did like coming out of TLC. And with that being said, with the Wyatt family winning over Daniel Bryan, I was like, okay, at first, did they just bury Daniel Bryan? But the more I think of it, the more I think it really doesn't matter that Daniel Bryan was buried. I really don't see it that way. It was just a gimmick match that Daniel Bryan was in for the Wyatt family to benefit from. So really overall, I actually don't think Daniel Bryan was actually buried, because he goes over with the fans so much, and I can understand, a lot of people thinking that Daniel Bryan has been buried, but the way I see it, he just lost a gimmick match, and it really doesn't hurt his career. So overall, having the Wyatt family going over Daniel Bryan, like I said, it's pretty 50-50 when you really think about it. Did they bury Daniel Bryan? Did they not bury Daniel Bryan? What did you think? Do you think the WWE buried Daniel Bryan? Comment below and let me know. And throughout that match between the Wyatt family and Daniel Bryan, I actually like the little things. I like that Bray Wyatt never really wrestled a lot in that match because he's not the greatest wrestler. He does need to work on his wrestling, but I like how the WWE utilized Bray Wyatt in that match. He wasn't wrestling as much, so really all he was doing was, talking, he was talking to Daniel Bryan throughout that match. We could have been friends, Daniel Bryan, and etc., etc. And that moment where he done that exorcism spider-like maneuver, I thought that was a good, creepy moment. Like I said, they utilized Bray Wyatt pretty well, I thought. And having Luke Harper and Eric Rowan being the guys that was wrestling more with Daniel Bryan, and Bray Wyatt wrestling less with Daniel Bryan. He was doing more great, interesting little things other than wrestling, and having Bray Wyatt do all those creepy, eerie things was really good throughout that match. So overall, I thought that was a so-so, average at best, 3-on-1 handicap match, like the pay-per-view event itself. Moving on right now is the main event on the card. It was Randy Orton going one-on-one with John Cena in the unification match for both the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship. There's only going to be one champion. I thought this was a hit and miss main event. It wasn't a good pay-per-view quality match, and also in the same time, it wasn't really a bad match. It was a little bit below average at best, I think, in my opinion. And it wasn't a horrible match. There was a few botchy moments, and there was a great moment, however, when Randy Orton handcuffed John Cena, and of course there is a predictability factor as well. But, the predictability factors actually played out pretty well. I like that John Cena got out of the handcuffs and then he climbed the ladder, hit Randy Orton. He was going to fall, and then things happened. But when it got to that moment where the two of them were up on the ladder, there was that awkward moment where John Cena fell, hit his head off the table that was in the corner. I thought that was one of the most awkward scenes that I've seen in a TLC match. That was just weird as hell. That would have been more believable if John Cena actually put his whole body through that table. That would have been great. And then Randy Orton seizes that moment and grabs both titles. What happened at the end? Randy Orton won the match. Yes, yes, yes. WWE has done something right, I think, in my opinion, having Randy Orton go over in that match. Because in a lot of matches with him and John Cena, he gets the short end of the stick. Having Randy Orton win that match was the right way to go, in my opinion. And the funny thing is that a lot of people expected, that draw match where both guys take down two individual titles, therefore a draw, or Triple H coming out and grabbing both titles. A lot of people expected, those two things to happen, so I think a lot of people were surprised of the fact that there was a clean finish at the end. Overall, I think it made up for a lot of the pay-per-view shows that happened months before TLC, where you had that shady outcome of a screwy finish or a tie, something weird like that. So the outcome of TLC's main event kind of didn't make up for the pay-per-views that happened, like Money in the Bank, like Hell in a Cell, like Night of Champions. So with that being said, I think TLC last night was an average show at best. And there you have it. That was my review of last night's WWE pay-per-view event, TLC. What did you think of TLC's pay-per-view event last night? Comment below and let me know. You can also like MRB Wrestling Reviews on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and to all you MRBers watching, get plenty of rest and always do your best.